90% of consumers read online reviews before visiting a business. What do people see when they look you up online? We give you the tools you need to take control of your reputation. Send surveys to your customers via text message with Testimonial Collector. Get 5-star reviews on all the major platforms like Google, Yelp, and more. Track what people are saying about your business with Reputation Manager. Respond to comments and turn negative reviews into happy customers. See what your competitors' customers are saying about them with Competition Tracker. Learn great marketing tactics and what it takes to stay on top. A bigger social presence means more connections. Automatically generate and schedule engaging social media posts with Social 365. Build trust, boost sales, and grow your business.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Entrepreneur Life Show. And I am your host, founder of McDonald Bookkeeping Services. And as you know, we're back with another day in the life of an entrepreneur. So to all of my faithful followers and listeners who are listening on one of your very favorite podcast apps, thank you for always listening, always being faithful, always following. And yes, I see your comment. Yes, I see some of you are asking to get certain guests if I can on the show. I hear you. I see you. I am working on it. And if you are listening on watching on one of your favorite social platforms, Facebook or YouTube, be sure to jump in on the chat. If you want to ask some questions, I can post those to the board. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you can chat in the super chat. So, I have a great guest today. I always have great guests. Geez, because if they're on my show, they're great, or I wouldn't want them on the show, right? Okay, so let me start off by saying I want to say thank you to my sponsor, Marketing Out the Box. So if you want to get your social media up, your viewers, your visibility, check out Marketing Out the Box with Sean Maddox. Go to the website, entrepreneurlifeshow.com, and you can connect with him and watch all of the past guests that I've had on the show, the upcoming guests, including today's guest. So let me tell you about today's guest. So when someone introduced me to him, so the first thing I noticed was like his eyes are like amazing. They're like so dreamy and sexy, and this like melanin chocolate color that is like, I like dark skin. Like kind of like a chocolate ball, chocolate drop. So anyway, I just want to say that about his melanin skin, because very sexy to me. It is Jermaine Taylor. He is an entrepreneur, actor, been in theater, off Broadway, has been in TV. He's known on the game show network. We're going to get into that. If everybody remembers, I've Got a Secret. Soapbox Sundays. We are going to talk about all his entrepreneurship journey, get past it. He's like a really sexy, hot-looking guy. Just pay attention to the interview. Listen. Don't be trying to check him out, okay? So anyway, because he's pretty hot-looking. So you can do all that after the show. So anyway, let's get him on the platform and welcome him to the show. Jermaine Taylor. Hello, how are you?
My stock is up right now. Do you hear me? Oh, it's going to be a good weekend.
So thank you so much for being on the show and accepting the invitation. I appreciate it sincerely.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I really am glad that Scott introduced us. I am. Thank you.
You're very handsome. Even though I'm on the other team, I was like, wow, he's got like such a cute face, adorable face. So For those, of course, who aren't familiar with you and, in reading your bio, and, I hope you don't mind that I eventually want to share some of the stuff you've done, because you're so comical and entertaining. If I could just start off by, for our listeners to hear, can you talk about maybe your youth growing up and to how that involved you into the industry of like theater and Broadway and television and film?
You know what's interesting about that? Because when you asked to interview me, that's where I immediately go to in prepping, thinking about me and my roots, because I often ask my guests about that.
Yes, he is handsome. I'm sorry. Yes, he is handsome. See, that's my wife. I was telling my wife earlier, I said, okay, anyway, go on.
I didn't have one of those upbringings that really encouraged it unless it was attached to the church or school. So I had always had a keen desire to like just do bigger things and just draw people's attention to me through like my ability to make people laugh, my ability to sing, my ability to interpret somebody else's, work. But it was never pushed on me. It was more of an academia atmosphere. But they didn't mind encouraging it as an enrichment because they knew that it helped me, develop a full, well-rounded individual. And plus, being a young gay kid, it helped me exercise some of that, because I was so repressed. So I felt like I could lean into that a little bit more if I just under the auspices of something else. So the funny thing is I think it's just a knack and a gene that was passed down, because my mom doesn't even realize how comical she is. Neither does my dad. And I don't know if I have jokes. I feel like it's just my delivery. The way I have a way of just, wrapping it in sugar. And people just find it to be really interesting. Like, oh my God, there's dark-skinned guy coming at me. And then he opens up his mouth like, oh my goodness, this is such a juxtaposition. Wow. So I feel like it's just a whole packaging thing that sort of just makes me a lot more hilarious than what I am as far as like building it. But yeah, I did plays. I sang in church. I took dance. I took gymnastics. I was a cheerleader. All those things that I would, pretty much did, just trying to exercise my creative, abilities within the strains of this small little East Texas town. And I was celebrated for that. Anytime your child is being heralded, your parents can be like, well, let me get behind this, even though I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, and that's what pretty much happened. I got to college. Only thing I did in college was pretty much sing. I did a few plays. And then when I graduated school, I was always dancing. And I said, well, let me just see if I can just do this, because I don't want a job in business. I got a retail job and I was a buyer for a particular company. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I auditioned for Alvin Ailey.
Oh,
I got in on a fellowship where they would pay some of it and I'd pay the rest. I guess because they just saw that I had some sort of, I could tap. And I think that's what kind of got me in there. And I did that. And as I was, amongst all these creative people in New York City, and I was like, wow, this is a lot. And they were doing other things other than dancing. So I would tag along to different shows and different auditions, saying, well, let me just try this to see if I can do it without not really having any official training. And I was like, I'm lacking something. So I enrolled at Stella Adler Conservatory to learn how to be an actor, got my certification, graduated from there, and started auditioning. And Rose, it was slow coming. For some reason, the industry has never known what to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. I don't know what that is. I would audition for things that seem so easy to attain. And they'd be like, okay. Then they go with the next guy. I finally booked a national commercial, the Olive Garden. And I was like, whoa, I get my SAG card. Things are going to open up. Crickets. So I was doing other people's plays and just, exercising my work, and everything I was always cast in was very hilarious and, the one-off guy. And I said, well, you know what? Let me just write my own thing. And I think that's when the seeds of my entrepreneurship started to bubble. I was like, so I wrote my own play, and I've always loved game shows. So I wrote this game show where I was the star and I was the contestant. And yeah, it's called A Piece of the Game, PEACE of the game. And the grand prize was a lifetime supply of peace of mind. So in order to get to this prize, the contestants had to share something that they have never shared before. So I had 3 different contestants, 3 different walks of life. And mind you, I embodied these 3 different people. And each night, the audience would pick the winner. And it was just interesting how, depending on the makeup of the audience, who would win. And
Right.
it was pretty much my opening. Michael Musto, the Village Voice in New York City, came down and saw it. And he had got wind that there was this game show out here looking for this Nipsey Russell-esque type guy. Remember Nipsey
Yeah,
Russell?
yeah, I remember Nipsey Russell. Yeah.
And they were looking specifically, and they said, well, there's this guy who says he doesn't have many television credits, but he's doing this game show. He's so funny. And, there's not many seats he has filled in the house, but, And I said, well, all right, just send it to me. He heard about it because they wanted to consider him. He said, well, I said, send it to me because I didn't believe him. And I said, all right. And I put together a tape of me just acting like Jermaine in the middle of Times Square.
Yeah.
And Rose, when I tell you that 818 number popped on my phone, I thought I was like, what is this? That's when back in the day when you picked up every number.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, all right, I'll pick it up. And they were telling me, I was like, are you serious? And even I was skeptical. I didn't tell my mom. I was getting ready to find a plane from New York to LA. I don't know these people, but they've already deposited this money. And I got this ticket in the mail. Back when you put tickets in the mail, I said, all right, I'll go. And there began my journey in Hollywood. I was like, oh my goodness. And like until I actually booked the pilot, I didn't tell anyone because I just thought the world was going to fall apart from under my feet. I thought I was being punked. But that's how it happened. I created my own vehicle and damn, that's what it is. And I've kept that. I lost it for a little bit, because I kind of went through some other shit. Oh, can I say that on here?
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of went through some other stuff. But when I reconnected with it, the world sort of like blossomed all over again. But yeah, that's the ebb and flow of me and Cliff Notes.
So do you think, because I know that your education is in is theater and arts, and and you've done off Broadway. So I know that doing anything related to theater and Broadway, you have to be versatile from tap and from dance and acting, even comedic. So were you intentionally doing that so that you would be versatile, or just because that was something that interested you, so you would have those opportunities for all of those genres?
Well, I didn't know what I was good at, so I was trying a bunch of different things. I knew I could do a lot of things, but I didn't know what would make room for me. So I would go to these musical theater calls singing, maybe this is a vehicle. I would audition for this comedic play that nobody ever heard the author of. I said, well, maybe this is the vehicle. So many things I was doing, even stand up for a little while, just trying to find a way to see what is the thing that I'm really good. I know I can do a lot of things, but what is it that's going to make room for me? And I found, that it was more of my personality, more of my comedic intuition that people were like, okay, this is it. So some kind of way I sort of parlayed that into, my would-be next move in life. So no, I was just auditioning for any and everything, trying to build up that creative muscle for one thing, because when you're in New York, you need to just pretty much know how to do it all just like that.
Right.
Because my training hadn't lent itself to that growing up, of course I was doing things, but I mean, I was contending with people who were doing stuff like national tours as children. So I had to play catch up. So, in my, intensive training and learning, I was able to excel and, finally get somewhere. Yeah.
Do you recall your very first call, like your casting call, and what that was like, your experience for the first time you interviewed or something, and how that
it was really weird. It was a book on tape. It was a voiceover. And I was hearing about all these people, so you can make a lot of money doing voiceovers, while you wait for your big break. I was like, all right, cool. So I went in there and just read my little thing, and it was this little children's book. And I haven't even seen it since I did it. And they said, yeah, we're going to book you. And they booked me the first day that I walked in there. I was like, are you serious? And it was a non-union gig, and the agent that submitted me, of course, took a big chunk of it. And I was like, is this really the way it goes? Because there's a lot of money taken from me, and I'm just doing this. So that was that. But my first national exposure was the Olive Garden campaign, when I was like, whoa, I'm going to be seen all across the world slinging pasta. So that's the first one. And that was really monumental because, like I said, it gave me my SAG card. And the auditions were a little bit more high profile after that. So it was the Olive Garden job. I went in, we had an Olive Garden uniform. And
Wait, did they give that to you, or did you just make sure you got that to the part?
Let's just say I had access. So I did that. And I went in there. They wanted several takes of me giving this person pasta on the right side, on the left side. They wanted some still shots of me holding pasta, some deadpan shots, all this just weird stuff because I didn't have any language in the shoot. And yeah, that job paid me for like 3 years because it was attached to their campaign that they do yearly.
Mm-hmm.
And every year they would slice it up and I would see a different profile of me. And those checks would come and they would be at the most timely of fashion. I'm like, whoa. And I was like, is this ever going to end? But no, that was like my first job. And I mean, I couldn't stop. And I kept telling people, and they're like, well, we only saw half of you. I said, I don't give a damn. That half of me is paying my rent. So, yeah.
So I know that, because of, you're very funny. And I want to share, like, just a little bit of the video and stuff from I've Got a Secret. And not to put you on the spot, but do you ever think that, or do you feel, because you're very comedic, that you always have to be on because of how people see you and what you've done? You know what I'm saying? Like, you always have to be comical.
Yeah. I've moved from that. In the beginning, when I really didn't know what it was, I did, because creative people are naturally people pleasers, especially in the beginning, because you don't know who can give you that job, so you just want to seem just congenial to good assets. But then as you get older, it's like, you know what? I've gotten paid for this, so I'm going to reserve it. I'm going to give you an honest person, but I'm not going to give you that person that can also get a check, because it's just not that condition, So it's just depending on the situation. Sometimes I feel like I just want to be on because it's just who I am. I ebb and flow like that. But it's not something that I just inherently, turn on just because I want, to be amongst the crowd. No.
So I know that because obviously I don't know, I'm assuming, because I've never been on stage, but when you're like in Broadway, any type of theater or TV, there's always like, there's your what do you call your script? But when what you do and you're and hosting, and you've done hosting for VH1 and aside from game show stuff, and I want to get onto the Soapbox Sunday, there is no real script. So so you kind of have to be on and play it by ear. Is there any, how do you prepare for that?
Doing it. Seriously, it's a muscle. It's like impromptu comedy. You just have to trust the moment. Have, if you're like talking to another guest, have some things lined up so you can fill in some of the, the quietness, because you can't always rely on your guests to be as forthcoming as you'd like them to be. So, have bullet points lined up, have your stock little phrases in there that sort of move the conversation. But it's just something you have to exercise on a regular and continual basis. It's just like having a conversation. Just have to trust that the next moment is going to happen. And you also got to know your shit. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're talking about something and it's something trending or topical or political or social. You got to know what's going on so you can have the conversation. So a lot of it's doing a lot of research and just knowing what the hell you're talking about. So, whenever you have knowledge, they say knowledge is power. It really is. So when you know the subject matter, the things will just happen naturally. You just have to trust that it's going to be there whenever the moment arises. Yeah.
So you were on, I know, I've Got a Secret for a while. And actually, I know I look 25, but I'm in there. I'm up there, because I know I actually am familiar with all of these. And so I'm there. The dye is working really great. So so how was it when you were like, when you were on that show? Because I find I watch quite a few game shows. They're different from today. They're bringing a lot of the older shows back now.
Yeah.
And you're trying to upgrade them a bit. But I noticed a lot of the shows have quite a few, if they're not actors that were comedians before they started off acting. Right. And it seems to be common that those are their choices.
Yeah.
I think it's for, I guess, the connection with the viewers. I mean, is that kind of standard because they are comic and they can bring entertainment versus just a game show? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that was the angle for this particular show. They needed personalities that people wanted to tune in to watch every day. And they knew they had a target. They were trying to push it as an all gay panel, but they sort of morphed away from that, even though the majority of it, well, we all were. They didn't lead with that. But the market of any game show, you're pretty much producing it. They're trying to win a prize, but you want to make it entertaining. So you want the host to be entertaining, you want the guests to be entertaining, you want the panelists and the series regulars on the show to be entertaining. So that was the angle with that. But this particular reincarnation of I Got a Secret, they were trying to call back those glory days of the game shows of the 60s and 70s. That's why we were always dressed up. And they wanted, a modern day version of a Nipsey Russell, of a Dorothy Kilgallen, of a, Steve Allen. They wanted all those types. And that's what they were trying to match. And the show would have kept going, Rose, had GSN come off the money, because we were really high in the rankings. But they operate right at the line. Well, then they did. And, they were paying for 5 personalities. The guests were coming in, and these guests sometimes had secrets that required a ton of stuff on set. So it was a shelling of a lot of cash for them, and they just didn't see where it was feasible to sustain it, even though we were knocking them off the charts.
Right,
so
right.
They did this season, and they just ran it and replay, and kept us on the ropes, thinking we were going to come back, and we never did. But I got a lot of mileage out of that. It taught me a lot about Hollywood. I saw the ugly in this downtown. Ooh, I'll tell you, I'm still trying to move to the Hollywood that I see on television. I'm not kidding you. I'm serious. It's just I haven't seen it yet. But it was a very good introduction learning experience. And then I saw the ugly, because the minute the check stopped and the minute the lights were off, it was as if I had never arrived in this town. So I had to build up all over again. I had a nice piece of material under me. But again, it was just hard to sell me. There's this bubbly talent from this game show. What can we do with it? I'm thinking, well, you can do a lot if you wanted to. You're just lazy. So, that was that. But I'm so grateful for it. I am. It's like one of the biggest things that I've had in my career yet. Yeah.
So do you think that, and this is just pertaining to the industry, the LGBTQ industry, people in entertainment, that I know that it takes many years. I mean, I think it's become more open now that people are coming out, but that you can there's already typecasting in Hollywood. As you know, you can do something, you're typecast, and it's trying to get out of that typecast. But then if you're gay or whatever, I don't know, I don't like titles, that then you can even be more typecast, because they assume, oh, let's just put him in to pay a gay or lesbian actor. So then you don't even want to say that that's your sexual preference, because it's already hard enough to be typecast. It's so either typecast because you're funny, well, we're always going to put them as a comedian, or if you get what I'm saying. So do you feel that that's still somewhat a concern? It's gotten better in the industry because you're already your melanin, and then you're male, and then to add on, hey, and I'm gay. You get what I'm saying?
It's a lot of assigning. I don't know what's going on with me. What the hell? All this damn fun. It used to bother me because they wanted a certain type of gay. The thing is, it's not the gay thing. It's the type of gay that they want out of me that I'm not. That gay that's really, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they often want the extreme. I always call it I call it a safe gay, because they feel like they're not threatening anyone. The very quick, the flamey one, I mean, just on top of it. And I love them because those are some of my best friends. They're in my circle. But the industry tends to, that's what they defer to. Whenever they see a black male gay character, they want that. And on occasion, I could be that guy, but that's not who I am, period. It's not honest. That's what I'm on, if you should say. And I'm on because I'm just trying to be that person. But that's what I have to fight against more often. Like, I used to get the adjustment of like, can you make it a little bit more saucy? And I'm thinking, I know the character you want, and that's not the character that I am. Of course, I can do it, but I need to be responsible to my contingency as well. We come in all different degrees.
Right.
That's just who I am, and that's what I've Got a Secret pretty much recognizing me, that the sort of gay that I was worked for me. And I just didn't want to jump through the hoops trying to be 80 million people for 80 different jobs. I was like, let me just be Jermaine. Yeah, it's obviously that I am gay, but I'm not going to be that gay that's just so typical and just one dimensional. There's a lot more to my story than just what you're trying to paint me to be. So I fight against that a lot. But the fact that I am Black and gay, in the beginning, I thought it was going to be an impediment because I was actually told that I would never work because I was out. But until I owned who I was, Rose, that's when the opportunities started. I mean, they didn't start until then. Right. I would go in, these little one-offs on Law and Order SVU, trying to be there, thinking, God, was my voice deep enough? Did I do this? Did I do, and I'll be so in my head trying to come across as something that I wasn't. I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let me just be Jermaine and let the chips fall where they may. I'm watching the clock now because I hadn't really made any money and I'm sick of living in Jersey City. So, so that's how it pretty much, I just sort of morphed into it out of just, I'm tired. I just want to be Jermaine. I want to be honest. Yeah.
So I want to kind of get to the Soapbox Sundays.
Yay.
And I was actually watching where you're out on the street and did a live, you're going out on the street and doing these live shows. So I didn't realize you were doing that too. So how did you get that? What made you start that? I mean, I know you were talking about, I know you worked with writers and many writers, which is how you grew your, how to, I guess, market yourself and the genre. So what opted you to start Soapbox Sundays?
That was a brainchild of the pandemic. When everything was going on last year, especially the social unrest, I was like, wow, there's a lot people have to say. There's a lot of this things that are on people's minds. There was this one casting director who was giving space for artists of color on their website. Not website, but on their their platform to curate all their social media for the day during the month of June. And I said, all right, I'll take a Sunday. So I did a Sunday and I curated their Facebook, their Instagram, everything, all the social media platforms. But what resonated the most was my lives was still on Instagram. And I was getting so many comments, people were just talking. And I just realized, wait a minute, I have a knack for this. I'm doing really well. So after it was over, I said, let me just do some of my own. And girl, I started getting access to people that I didn't even think I was in the same league with. I mean, Kamala Harris has this K-Hive. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. And they were sort of making the case for her to be vice president. Somebody connected me with a leader of that. I started talking to different Hollywood producers that had shows that were really huge, like Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, I am getting access to a lot of people really quickly. And I was like, is it because that I'm good? So I was like, well, let me just lean into it more. And before you know it, I was doing it every Sunday. Of course, I was trying to make it look as good as possible. So I invested in a little set. And I put together my reel and I shot that out there. And people were saying, I want to be a part. I got a story to tell. And at one point when I felt like I was running out of stories because I didn't want to harp on all the political and social stuff, I had to sit with it for a little bit and just realize what kind of angle did I want to put this in and who I wanted to pattern this after. And what I settled upon, Rose, was that everybody and everything has a story. You don't have to be a big name. Yeah. You don't have to be somebody that's viral. Everybody and everything has a story. So knowing that, sort of quells the anxiety of me running out of material, just getting them on there and finding the person who actually wants to talk. So I just started doing that. And it's just something that was so effortless. It was. I had the goods. I know how to talk to people. I know how to get shit out of you. And it's just worked, and I've just kept doing it. It's given me somewhat of a lot more confidence because, like I said, still nobody knows what to do with Jermaine. So I'm going to show them what to do with Jermaine. And when Scotch told me about this show, Entrepreneur Life, I was like, well, I'm not really using Jermaine. This is very entrepreneurial. He says, anytime you make your own way in this anything, it's an entrepreneurial spirit. I said, I never thought of it that way. And so even an opportunity like this affirms what I've been doing, and not that I need it, but every now and then you do need a nudging from the universe letting you know, okay, you're going in the right direction, just keep going.
Right.
So thank you for being that judge on this April Fool's Day.
And I think I know when I originally started this podcast, I was bringing influential people, like yourself. A lot of us think that because, we are out, like I do accounting for a living, and people could have a clothing boutique or, whatever it is that they have. They don't realize that people in entertainment are also entrepreneurs because of their brand.
Yes.
And their brand is their entrepreneurship. And so seeing that how they're having to make some of the same decisions that we make, similar decisions, just, on a different level. And I said, so with things that you have done, and of course, being in the world of you meet different types of celebrities making your own way and your own ticket, so to speak.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to up and coming artists or people who want to get in the industry? Because nowadays, this is unfortunate to me. A lot of entertainment or people, they're fly by night because they want they want the likes, they want the followers, but they're not thinking of the longevity.
Yes. I would tell people to wrap their minds around the idea that it's going to be a slow crawl. It's a very glacial pace. Some people get out the gate and they'll just skyrocket. But then if you dissect what they're doing, is like that shelf life isn't going to be long because that's going to get very tiring. People are going to sour on you. It's more so now than ever. People's attention spans are short. So once something else comes along, or once an upgrade of your version comes along, they'll be on to that.
Right.
So you have to be willing to, it might sound, not that it's boring, but it may not be as flashy and catchy as the other person who has all these followers and seems to be getting all this hype. But you know that you have something solid, it's steady building, and it has a lasting quality to it, because that's what you're looking for in this industry. You're looking for longevity. You don't want to have something huge and then go back to a life that you had before. You want to keep building on it. And you see a lot of that in reality TV and in viral sensations. Yeah. They're all over these late night couches. And then a year from later, it's like, oh, whatever happened to? Oh, or unless something catastrophic happens to their lives, they're gone. And that's the personality I just don't want to be. I don't. And I feel like that's what the industry tries to push on you, because, they're just looking about their next dollar.
Yeah.
And they're, they know more is going to come through the pipeline. So they will salvage this one and get all this one out, and they're going to the next one. So people like you and me were like off on the sidelines. We're there. But, it just takes a little bit a longer process for us to get ours. And I guess I just got my mind around that early on, because I've never gotten anything quick. As much I've tried to, accelerate it and shortcut it, it always bit me in the ass. And I was like, let me stop that. So, just to understand that it's going to be a very slow process if it's really honest and true and has lasting power. So if you can make peace with that early on, yeah, you'll be okay.
So I say this myself. I've had quite a bit of people on the show, and when it comes to, you will always remember. I don't even think it matters what age you are, because I have children in their early 30s, and they will still remember, Temptations, Madonna, Whitney Houston, and it's people who
You have children in your early 30s. What are you drinking?
Yeah.
You?
Well, I do. Yeah, it's hair dye, and no, let me tell you. And no offense to you, I stopped dating men. So
wow, you look amazing. Oh my God. I thought we were like the same age, and you're telling me you got children. Wow, my goodness.
I'm in my
that's entrepreneurial right there. Sell that.
So I know that I will have sometimes my kids will something on TV or a song or something, and they will think it's like, oh, did you hear this? I'm like, I would listen to that when I was in junior high or high school. But it's a lot of those people are, when you look at certain entertainers, you will never forget them, no matter what age.
Yeah, you won't.
Like you were just saying, some people just want the followers. They want that quick hook. It's the quantity. They're not thinking of the quality. And then they're forgotten. And it was one thing I had remembered about Scott, because I had saw him on something when I had interviewed him. I remember seeing him actually initially on Soul Man. And then
Yep.
And that's what, and I was like, and I was like, oh, he looks familiar. But it just like, okay. And then when I looked up the show again, I was like, on Netflix, I'm like, Jesus, no wonder I've seen him on all this stuff.
Yeah.
You remember that one face of, if you get something quality,
Right.
and it's like you'll never forget. You can watch Lucy over and over and over again and still not get everything. So then it lets you be like, oh yeah, I remember that show. Then I went back to that show when he did a part on that, and then you know what I mean. So that's the importance of it, the quality, and not thinking I guess your brand will last forever.
Yeah. And I often wonder, do I really want those sort of types as fans anyway? If you're going to be so flippant as to go on to the next after you've gotten double bored with me, I don't know if you're my demographic anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's those things you just have to like, and I think it's a maturity thing too. Because when I was like promoting myself, I was like trying to see who am I getting the most results from? And I saw there was a certain demographic of people that were always tuning in. And I was like, okay, I get it now. Is there a little bit more? They've been around, they've been through some stuff, they understand the power of experience.
Right.
And you find your audience and you hone into that. In the beginning, you want to satisfy all the masses.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You still have Beyonce haters as much as everybody loves Beyonce. Even though a lot of people don't, you know what I'm saying? So you just target in on those that get it and you grow from there. And like I said, it's a very glacial pace. I cannot stress that enough. But yeah, that's the advice that I would give, people that are starting out. Yeah.
Well, I know that COVID, people think that everything is now virtual because of COVID. But initially, basically, a lot of celebrities don't realize, or people in entertainment, that they've always been virtual because we're watching them virtually. Exactly. So having to find out, how do you connect with your listeners or connect with the people that you want to watch you and listen to you? And so is that something that you learn in in acting and taking all these classes and working with writers? Because you can be a great actor, but if you're not connecting with the audience, how do you know how to connect with an audience you can't even see? You get what I'm saying?
No doubt. And that's one of those things, it's like a trial by experience. You just have to get into it. And before I even got into this, I had this gravitation. People always called me and wanted advice and stuff like that. And I think I just operate from a very sincere, honest place. I do. I don't mind wearing my hardships on my sleeve. Sometimes I will talk to a person about that, let them know. And they'll often be surprised. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm dealing with right now. I can cover it up, because I'm going to show you the person that I want you to see. And I feel like once you're sincere and you're honest and people know that you're not selling some sort of a show or being on, that's how you connect with people. I feel like it's one of those gifted things. It's that Oprah effect. It's like you see it, you want to share with this person because you feel like they're taking you at your word. They're not trying to exploit you. I don't know how I was able to develop it other than just realize that I had it and just lean into it a lot more. And I'm grateful for it because, there's some people that, it's like, I don't talk to you. But people want to sit down and chat with me. People I haven't even met. I had this one girl on the show, and I knew her loosely through her brother, but she was a surrogate mom. And we talked about, the whole process of it. And by the end of that interview, when I tell you, she was just so forthcoming, giving me information that we haven't even talked about in pre-production, because she had just so settled into that connection that we had in that moment. And I don't even know if I can bottle it and sell it. It's just something that's just innate with me, and I'm grateful for it. But I'm glad that I discovered it when I did. But it also took growing up to realize that it was there and knowing how to take care of it too. Kind of like you, like I didn't know this conversation was going this direction. And now I'm just the inhibitions are gone. So some people just have it. And you just have to know how to access it and use it for the good of, whatever you're trying to do. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would have done differently in your venture into your own entrepreneurship journey? Like maybe if there's a character or something you would want to do that you haven't done, or maybe you wish you hadn't done, like maybe there was something off Broadway you wish you hadn't done, or maybe like you say, I'm not going to take that part because, or have this appearance, or even like when I know you were doing some hosting for VH1 and think, gosh, that was a bad decision. But it was a learning lesson.
Professionally, no, because like the opportunities haven't been that plenty. They've been, when I've hit big, but I haven't hit a lot. So I'm always grateful to be in front of the camera. When it comes to decisions like that and regrets, they're often personal, because my personal spills into the professional because it sort of like impedes them. So some of the personal decisions that I've made have, I still, not that I live in regret, because I've salvaged the lessons out of them. But I often wonder, had I just decided to do that day, where would I be? And I hate having that hindsight mind. But, when you know better, you do better. But that's more of a personal thing, making, choices that would spill over into my professional career. But professionally, no, girl. When I get the opportunity, I know it's not making me look like a buffoon, I will do it. If I come up with an idea that I can like grow it, I will knock on doors. But yeah.
So I want to talk about, you still will be doing the Soapbox Sundays, right?
Every Sunday, and we got 3 more shows in April and a couple more in May. This has like been my first full season, and it's like I never know what's going. Like I don't have a big roster of people to pull from. So I'm like putting together on a weekly basis and ebbing and flowing. But here recently, I'm seeing that a lot more people are interested. So I'm having to juggle my schedule and things like that. But in the beginning, it was like that show didn't come together to that Saturday night, and bam, we went live Sunday. But so we have a show coming up next week. We're talking about the generic closet, talking about the Black gay man in situation comedy. This guy wrote this fabulous book, this professor from the University of Iowa. And then we're talking about STDs.
Oh, really?
Girl, yeah. It's interesting, because of lockdown, people have been trying to get it in. And, when you're trying to get it in, you're not always thinking, with a sound mind. So you're taking home shit that you didn't bring to the party.
Right.
And you're seeing a whole lot of spikes in STD cases going up. So, a friend who knows this doctor in San Francisco, she loves to do these kind of platforms. And I might turn her on to you because you would love her. She wrote this book called Strange Bedfellows. And yeah, it's a book about STDs. And it's a very humorous book. And we're going to talk about that. And I have another guy from the Gay and Lesbian Center who's going to be on with her, that particular show. And then, of course, there's my Oscar giveaway because I love to do things that are Hollywood themed because that's just who I am. Yeah. And I'm giving away T-shirts. And then, some weeks like this past Sunday, things will fall through the cracks and you have to like suffer those wounds. Yeah. You'll book a guest and they'll flake on you.
Yes, I know. It has happened.
And you're like, what did I do? Everything was prepped. It was fine. And then it's crickets the day of the show. And you want to internalize it because it's what we do. That's the part they call it. Yeah. And then you learn to let it go. But it's like, Jesus Christ, could I have failed, privately as opposed to in front of all my damn followers and fans? But, those are learning lessons too. But, I'm just learning how to make peace with the process. This whole virtual thing is very sketchy anyway, Mm-hmm. When I was watching CNN, Wolf Blitzer in the early days of the pandemic, he went apeshit because somebody's audio went out. So I always use that as a touchstone because it's a brand new thing for us. We've been forced into this live due to the pandemic. And so we're trying to figure it all out. So like if my mic drops or if the sound goes out, did you get the intention of the show?
That's where it comes to you. That's when it comes to your backup education with how to ad-lib.
Yeah. So it's like that. So, I used to get kind of embarrassed about it, but then I realized I was in good company. So I'm okay with that.
Being that you just brought up about your Sunday show and it having to kind of deal with, the male, Black in the gay industry and STDs. So, everything that started, when it comes to sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, everything was put on the gay industry. That's where it came from. They created it. Yeah. And so, what is your reaction to that? Because obviously, I mean, it's always like there has to be a label or a blame to put some.
Well, that's and I feel like it's just a part of the American way. They have to assess blame, a part of the privilege in our society. That even happened with COVID. Remember the very beginning of COVID? Everybody but the white race had the highest numbers. Everybody but them were more susceptible to it because it had to be an othering. They had to make sure that in their minds they were safe from it. And the same thing with the AIDS pandemic. It had to, and because the optics of it started spreading within our community first, it gave it more credibility. But then as time went on, it was like, wait a minute, this thing is just not just with gay men. It's with gay men over here in the United States. But in Africa, everybody has it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a very, I don't know if it's a survival tactic of the privileged and the majority in our country, because they're always quick to other things, especially things that are just looked down upon because they just want to seem above it. It makes them feel like they're safe when they're not. But if they can assign a label or make it appear some kind of way that they won't catch it, that's where they start with things like that. They have to blame you. There's no accountability. The person that gets the least amount of accountability on the damn earth is the straight white man, and that makes me mad. You know what I'm saying? They'll kill all these people in these stores and these spas, but they won't be accountable for it. It annoys me. They do the stuff, but they're never accountable. It's always something soft. They're a lone wolf. They're alone. They got issues. But and that's changing, and I don't want to take this conversation there. But there's just always an othering of things like this, and we get it. We're gaslit by it, and we're led by it, and it makes us, act crazy and differently. Because even I was thinking, well, I am a Black person, so I might need to be a little bit more safe in my choices. But I'm like, wait a minute, this is an airborne disease, and I'm talking about COVID. It doesn't decide that you're Black. I'm going to skip over you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you just have to have like your own logical reasoning and just realize what's at play and what they're trying to give us, because a lot of people do just buy it, and I have to dispel a lot of those notions within my family because they're not, researchers and avid readers like I am. So it's just having some sort of a desire to, educate the people as opposed to what they've been told. Yeah.
And I think that's just for even listeners, whether or not you're in that lifestyle or not, is a really great topic to have.
Yeah. It is.
And because as we all know, there are so many people in the industry or who are married that just won't come out.
They won't. And it's kind of sad. And I don't even know why that's even a situation nowadays, because as much as I hate it, it kind of ups your stock a little bit. People are a little bit more interested in you when they find out that you might be LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Because as much as there's still pushback, you see the narrative going forward, especially when you have different people in leadership like President Biden, who's making sure that we are accounted for, and President Obama. I think it's just a comfort level thing, especially within the Black culture. We're still fighting it. We just are. The younger generation, and I don't know how I was able to wrap my mind. I guess because the volume of my life has always been turned up. But I just surrendered to it at an early age, and I got so much pushback, but I had no choice. I just didn't. It's like I don't know what other way to be. And you're making me try to be this person. But when I try to be this person, I make bad choices and I'm unhappy. So let me just get to a town, i.e. New York, where I don't have to deal with that anymore. And it follows you there too. But it's just I don't know if it's the whole religion and the church thing, but there's just something that still we're holding on to about it that we can't quite surrender from.
Yeah.
Even my best of relationships and my best friend, we're tight. But every now and then there'd be a little something in the conversation that lets me know that her evolution isn't where I want it to be. And I'll have to stop right at that point and listen, you can't say that. That's not the right word to describe that person. And they'll try to judge. I know, let's have this moment together as friends. If you want to hang up the phone after you're done and digest it, you can. We need to talk. So, you know, and it's just what it is. It's a lifelong thing. I have promise and hope for the generation because like my little nephew, the way I see him sashay around the family reunions, I'm like, oh my God, the license that you have. And damn, you know, all the others he needs somebody to freaking encourage him and leave him alone. You know, and I'm right there in the middle. And it's just interesting how this young generation, the restraints are off. Although I envy them, I don't want to be them because I'm glad for the mind that I have. But yeah, it's just a thing that's just going to, you know, lessen as we keep growing and time keeps passing.
And, you know, seeing that I have a statement on the screen is that, you know, people are holding in so much and there's so much mental illness where you'll see, you can probably read that and see it yourself. But it seems that being in what's called this lifestyle, I guess you want to call it, is a trend.
Yeah.
Versus, and people are getting, what's the word? Attention.
Yeah.
And you're now seeing a little more on television, and people are now bringing like commercials. Are you seeing more interracial people in commercials?
Right.
And you have to have a part now almost in every show, which is great. But it makes me feel like, well, are you doing it for ratings?
Yeah, and you kind of wonder about the exploitation of it.
Yeah.
And another thing that's sort of, and it's interesting because I tell people all the time that, yeah, I'm gay, full-fledged, card-carrying, but there are things I have to educate myself about. Like all these, like pansexual and non-binary, you know, those terms are relatively new to me. So, and I mean, I'm a lot more receptive of it than other people, but I have to do a deep dive too to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I'm just gonna get it. You know, once I do get it, I'm okay with it. But you know, I need to learn too. So if that's going on inside of my evolved, you know, mind as a straight out, I mean, as a gay black man that's out, I can only imagine the acrobats that are going on with straight people, you know?
Yeah.
So I do understand the hesitation because you often resist the things that you're ignorant of. And until you learn it, you just want to push it away and just other it, you know? So I get that. But do I think it's sometimes a trend and all of a sudden this person is coming out as fluid and this and that? Yeah, because people want to, you know, get those clicks and get those likes and followers and things like that. So I feel like it can be clickbait at times. With regards to the interracial couples on television that I'm seeing in all these ads, I feel like that's just way beyond time. I mean, it's just about time. Because I've only known interracial couples my entire life. You know, I grew up with an aunt that was white. I have an uncle who dates nothing but Asian women. You know what I'm saying? And so I've always seen that. The progression of that it was just slow coming. And so I don't mind that at all because that's just a part of the fabric of this country. In fact, I did a show this past summer called Cross Cultural Love and the challenges they were facing within this age of social unrest. And girls, some of those conversations were kind of hot and heavy because just because you're married to a black person doesn't mean you get everything that they're going.
Right.
You don't. Yeah. You know, and and I was seeing that with some really good friends of mine. And, you know, she was having to tell him, I said, well, did it strain your relationship? She goes, no. But she goes, you do take for granted. You just feel like just because a person loves you and has their heart, they understand your everyday life. And you literally have to be in a black person or a person of color or just a marginalized person's shoes to fully understand the extent of the microaggressions that, you know, other people just don't have. We just don't get it, you know, and sometimes they can be subtle, but those subtleties add up. You know, I can only be looked at sideways in the grocery store so many times before I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Mother, do you want to pay for this for me and just usher me to my car and turn on my car for me and drive me out the parking lot because it's just way too much.
Yeah.
And they, you know, they dismiss them so easily. But you know, when they happen in rapid succession after one, it's easy to see why somebody loses their shit over something that you would totally ignore because they just come so often. But you know, that's that. But yeah.
Well,
is that you or me? Because my phone is on too, and I don't want to reach over.
That's mine. Sorry, people. I probably have clients calling me. Don't forget, I should have turned it off. Okay. So anyway, but sorry, people, for my ghetto phone ringing.
Where are you from, Rose?
I am from nowhere, so it is unfortunate because I say this to people. I was born in Chocolate City, Washington D.C., but we were just around. I'm really not from anywhere. I don't have a place to claim, and that's okay. So, and I'm one on titles and stuff anyway. I don't care for people who know me. I don't care for what's the word? Being called a minority. So I don't fill that out on an application because I think mentally that's if it's branding you mentally to say you're less than. And I don't care for labels of what are you, gay or bisexual, whatever. It's like I just happen to love a woman who I married and she's my wife. She's gay. I'm me. Yeah, I love that. So I joke about that, but I feel that when people are, it took me a long time to believe this, to understand. I think everybody has to find themselves, and myself was, if I wanted true happiness, I had to commit and be accountable for the true happiness that I wanted. So whatever that was, whatever package it came in, I was not going to put it aside because what the package looked like. So if it was fat or skinny or of a different race, or it happened to be the same sex person. And so I wasn't going to turn that away. So people say, if you believe in whatever, you believe in God or you're Buddhist or whatever, don't turn away something that could be in your face. Because what you might think society. So I don't care for labels. So I tell people, if you're really looking for somebody, they could be right there. You're just not, you have to look past the package, what it comes in.
You just spoke a mighty word right there, girl. You might see that somewhere. I'll credit you. But you might get
So
I like that resonates within me. I see a show coming. I feel a show. Okay, we're talking about labels on Soapbox Sundays pretty soon.
Yeah. I am a person that I don't care. I don't care for. Oh yeah, that's nice. She's pretty funny. Because my wife is like the guy in the Browns. Her dress is horrific. So, but I want to say thank you. I know we've at that showtime for being a guest on the show, and thank you, Scott. So I was very happy.
Scott is the best. We love Scott. Yay!
Yes, he's so entertaining and
knowledgeable and generous. He's all that.
I followed him for quite a while. I'm a silent stalker, so I see the stuff he does on YouTube, and so. But I so appreciate, because you're very entertaining.
Thank you.
And I will be watching, your for the Sundays on Sundays. And I want, of course, everyone, you don't have to be in this lifestyle or any other lifestyle to get something out of everything to make it a learning. Oh God, yeah. This is just a part of who we are, but it's not all of who we are, and that's how I pretty much lead with that. If it's an issue, it's an issue because you've made it an issue. I come to the table with us being equal, Yeah, that's me. So before we close out the show, everyone, so if you are listening and or watching live from wherever you are, be sure to watch on the replay. So if you are on a podcast app and you didn't get to see how handsome Jermaine is, then you can go to the website, entrepreneurlifeshow.com, and it will take you right into any of the live feeds, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube, or just listen on the replay, download the app, make sure you subscribe and check out where you can find Jermaine. We'll be on the website. And if you can just repeating where they can find your Instagram and your show. At Taylor Made World. So my last name is Taylor, TaylorMade World. At Taylor Made World. That's my Instagram handle. That's where you can also find my Soapbox Sundays every Sunday at 1:00 p.m. out here on the West Coast and 4 p.m. on the East Coast. If you're still on Facebook, Jermaine Taylor. And then my Twitter feed is also at Taylor Made World. So I'm always saying something, doing something, posting something, but my show is every Sunday at 1:00. And you can join the live. I don't accept requests to join us, and you have to be booked.
And yeah, so just be willing to contribute to the conversation. And I'm always taking, suggestions and submissions. So if you have a story you want to tell, like I said, everything and everybody has a story. So if you have something that you want to talk about and want to bring attention to, bring it to the soapbox. I got something for you to stand on. Come on.
I like that. I just got that. I've got some for you. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And you like that little plug there?
Yeah, I love that. Now I got it. Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and we are out. And see you next Thursday.
Rose, you've been a godsend. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.